Welcome to the Progressive Mindset Podcast. My name is Natalie Potts, personal development and business coach, and each week I'll be bringing you an inspiring personal message that will help you unlock creating and living a life full of energy and happiness. And today I am joined by the lovely Hannah Kate. So Hannah and I met on a women's focus group and we have stayed connected since. So her work is all around creating amazing art and gifts that are thoughtful. So they would raise that unique smile, tickle a memory, or help you share an emotion with somebody. So I'll let her share her own story in her own words because that's important. So I hope you enjoy. So welcome, Hannah, and thank you for joining me today. So I always like to kick off and start with hearing about your story and connecting through that way. So I'm going to hand it over to you straight away and say, tell me a little bit about you, your business, and also you can say how we met.
Hello, thank you for asking me on the podcast and for having me. I'm Hannah Kate and my business is Hannah Kate Makes, and I'm an artist. And I mainly focus on fantasy art, and my aim is to take whoever's looking at my art away from reality for a moment, just so they can kind of pause and be still with whatever they're feeling when they're looking at the work. Just kind of almost like a mindfulness thing, I guess, just as a break from reality. My story, so I started Hannah Kate Makes in December 2018. After taking some time away from employed work and salaried work for a few months because I had a shoulder injury, and it forced me to stop working. I couldn't drive, I couldn't sit at a desk, that kind of thing. This is because I'd ignored the injury that I got 5 years before. So if you get a niggly injury, don't ignore it, because it will catch up with you eventually. So I was signed off work for a while, and then I came to the end of the contract that I was working in as a PA for a pharma company, and I was basically told to rest, which sounds ideal, I'm sure, like, oh, go and sit at home and just chill out for a while. You're not being, I thought I'd take a couple of months off work and rest and just recover, but I'm not very good at sitting still. Mm-hmm. Especially if you don't feel sick. So it's different if you've got the flu and you don't feel like moving and that kind of thing. But for me, it was just literally rest up, do your physio, try and get your shoulder back in the right position. And I'm like, which was fine for a couple of days, but there's only so much Netflix you can watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even reading, I'm like, I need to get up and move around a little bit. And so I just started drawing again, which I hadn't done since I left school. Actually, I did a GCSE art back in the last century, and I hadn't done it since then because I'd gone on to do science and get a proper career, that kind of thing. And so much so that I started drawing again. And my partner, who I've now been with for 5 years, said, "I didn't know you could draw." I was like, "Oh, okay," because everyone saw me as a scientist, or as a organised admin person or whatever. They were like, "Oh, didn't know you could do that." So that was the start of it, really. I was doodling, and because it was the end of summer through autumn, I thought, I could make some Christmas cards and things like that. So by the time Christmas came, I opened my Etsy shop quietly and sorted out my Facebook business page with a load of seasonal Christmas cards, and that really. And then for most of last year, I carried on with that. I took commissions here and there, but didn't really have a direction for the business until I met Karen, our coach, and then I met you at the focus group, the coaching focus group, which, as you said, is where we met, which has been fantastic. And I'm really sad it's finished, to be honest.
Yeah, it's amazing just to get a group of like-minded people together, start tapping into taking, I think, small steps like you've just shown there in terms of starting just the creativity side coming through, and then starting a Facebook page, starting, launching product at Christmas for people, and then suddenly you kind of looking back 6 months, you actually I've achieved quite a lot, or completely different place where I thought I was. And I think what a mastermind does and coaching is it just accelerates that journey much more for us and brings us that confidence that we're on the right place, you know, on the right journey. We've got a vision, we know what we enjoy doing, and we can just focus on the right steps, I think, in moving forward to the goals that we have.
Yeah, definitely. And the focus group and the mastermind after that, it really brought it made me think about what I wanted and what my goals were and what my values were, and it really did give me that clarity and focus to move forwards.
Yeah, it's so
So
interesting. I mean, like, I guess to me, I've kind of got to that age of, well, I'm 33 now, but like the later stage of 20s, and then it kind of hit me as like, I don't know what my values are in life. I don't know what I want to really do. I've done very well in what I'm doing since I'm 18. It's just kind of cycled and I've progressed, and yeah, but I don't feel that kind of, I don't hate what I do, but I don't feel that fulfillment in terms of let's jump out of bed every morning and do what I was born to do, I think. And it's kind of, we get to these ages and it's that block of, we're doing very well, but do we take the risk? I think as we get older, we get maybe a little bit more risk averse at times, or we have those self-doubts that impact. Maybe that's a better perspective.
I think definitely the self-doubt comes in. For me, I don't think I'm that risk averse, to be honest. I think because I've changed jobs so often. I changed careers from admin. I went to university at 26,
Yeah.
and as a full-time student, so I took that jump.
Yeah.
I worked in forensics, which I loved, but because of the injury and because of for financial reasons, I had to change again. So I'm not too scared, I guess, of taking that leap. I think I say I take risks. My partner says that I take calculated risks because I think about things before I do it, but sometimes I don't. But for me, definitely the mindset and I'm quite lucky in that I don't have a mortgage, we don't have children, so it is just the two of us.
Yeah.
So we've only really got ourselves to think about. So I don't have that not burden, but I've only got to worry about myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really. So I haven't got that holding me back. Or even I don't have that to push me forwards because I'm not trying to produce something for my children. So you can look at it both ways, I guess.
Yeah, I guess then how do you find, where does your kind of motivation come from to keep going with everything? I guess if you essentially, you do it because you love it.
I was listening to a podcast about this morning, actually. I think with creative businesses, it's really important to not say I'm only doing this because I love it, because it makes it sound like any money and success is an afterthought and almost like a dirty word around what you're doing, which is completely wrong, because yes, I do love doing this. But I also want to be successful, and yes, I also want to make money, because in the future I'd love to be able to, when we're allowed to travel again, travel more. We want to build our own home to our specifications, have my own studio. I've got this whole vision board, it's brilliant. Amazing. So I think that's probably my driver. So while it's not, there's no such thing as an overnight success. It's not going to be a quick, I'm going to be a millionaire next week kind of thing, but I have my idea of what success would be for me in the future. So I guess I'm working towards that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point there. And then one thing I was going to ask you around, what's been some of your challenges you've had in building a creative business?
I think most of them actually have been mindset based, because when I know I'm capable of doing a thing, I can do that. Or if I don't know how to do something like build a website, I can learn how to do that. I know I've got that capacity to learn. So my challenges have mainly been mindset. So definitely imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Especially because my business is very active on Instagram. You just need to look at artists on Instagram. There are so many fantastic artists that are way more talented or further down their story than I am, and it can completely, if you look at it in the wrong mood, it can completely kneecap you, and you end up thinking, why am I bothering? They're so much better than I am. And you just have to remember that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes for a start on Instagram, because Instagram's completely a highlight reel. And also you don't know how long they've been practicing what they're doing. You don't know how much, whether they've got a whole team behind them doing everything else. So I'm very much indie biz, one woman band.
Yeah.
So I do everything. So I'm lucky if I get 40% of my working week actually creating anything. The rest of it is business stuff, so like marketing, networking, social media, all that kind of thing. So you really have to bear that in mind when you start that side of start a creative business as well. While people think you sit there and draw all day, which I would love to, if you're making it a business, it can't just be that. So
it's so interesting you mentioned that. It's definitely been on my mind a lot the last kind of, especially last week or so, is that the building side, how you're the marketer, you do your branding, because actually you need to like source it at some point when you're starting out, then you're writing your content, and there is so much, and you kind of take a step back and think, actually I'm not even doing what I do, I'm just building up something around me, and it isn't, like you say, it's completely not overnight as much as people think it is, or they think, oh, you know, you're doing really well, you've been so lucky, and it's like, well, yeah, I guess I look like that, and smokes and mirrors, like we think of the Instagram worlds and Facebook and everything, but it's not the reality. The reality is that I'm sitting up there at 11 o'clock at night, or I'm up really early in the morning, or my sleep's really poor. There's lots of other factors that are coming off the back of that as well. So it's not as easy to say that it's just around loving what you do, and I guess that becomes the nice bit. And you have to, when you're building, very much just keep building and doing those little bits to know step by step that in time then something, you know, having to change. You can outsource stuff. And we were talking about at the beginning about delegation and kind of what we like to control and things. And yeah, I've noticed in myself that stuff takes a lot longer than where I'm used to working with teams of people.
absolutely, and it always takes longer.
Yeah, and it does because it's new, and I guess where am I older with that compared to, I remember being younger, and I used to probably learn a bit quicker when I was younger, maybe. I probably get a hold of things a bit more, and I've got great ideas nowadays, but I want to just tap into really learning everything at a deeper level at the moment, and sometimes I just don't have the time for that. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how you have to adapt and review yourself and how you're doing whilst building a business alongside that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And reflecting so important. I try and do at least monthly, but also sort of almost a daily little reflection task.
Yeah.
I say task, it makes it sound really dull, but sort of sit at the end of the day, and whereas in the morning you've got your to-do list or your 3 tasks or whatever it is, however you set up your day, at the end of the day I do a to-do list.
Amazing.
So I actually sit there and go, yeah, I did that today and I'm really pleased I did that. And even if it's just I went outside and walked up the hill and back down again and got some fresh air with no screens. You know, that's, especially at the moment, that's so important.
Yeah, and I guess psychology would say that positivity and that kind of affirmation and the way we approach that, that's very powerful doing something like that. And very much to end your day on that as well, a bit like, do you do something similar in starting your day at all?
Yeah, kind of. So I have a very loose routine in the mornings because I hate getting up with an alarm clock. So I do have an alarm that goes, but this morning I slept through it. And that's fine because I work for myself and I was tired, and I can't work if I'm like grouchy and sleepy. So my loose routine is I write in my notebook. So I will try and write my gratitude list in the morning for like the last day. So, you know, whatever we did last night, or I spoke to this person, or even at the moment, like I'm healthy, I'm not sick.
Yeah.
And then I've stolen this from Rachel Hollis, actually. I write my 10 top goals that are sort of working towards my vision for the future, and I write them out every day, so they're in my head. And then I try to do a bit of a brain dump, much like is talked about in The Artist Way. And one of our focus group ladies told me about it, and I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I've heard of that before. So I try to write like 3 sides of A4, just kind of like stream of consciousness almost. And it's kind of like a really good way of journaling without proper journal prompts, and and it has to not be like a to-do list of what I'm going to do today, but just to kind of get all the rubbish out of your head before you start.
I think I love that idea of stream of consciousness, because I do very similar. I tend to do it on a Monday. I haven't done it today actually, but it's just a complete brain dump of everything that is on my mind, like every little thing, even if it's like, you know, cooking my meals and things. I'm like, I'll write it down, because then when you physically see it on paper, it has a different effect on you and how you choose to see it. And you just think, why am I getting so overwhelmed about things? Why am I putting all of this pressure? And I can feel this pressure almost like I'm getting a headache build up where I'm going to just go, enough's enough, and then not be productive actually at all for that. So I think it's really interesting to see what different people do. And it was making me think on the conversation of a week that people want to be told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of debating that because I think, I very much think that in business, absolutely. Sometimes when you tell people what to do and they want to know, to just go get it done. And that's very dependent on potentially knowing others' personality types and how they work best, I think. But then there's other times, and a lot with like the mindset things, where I don't think you can always tell someone what to do. I think you have to discuss stuff and see, this is how it works for me, or this is how I've seen it work for others really well. And, I guess when you look at millionaire mindsets I'm focusing a lot on, and successful mindsets, they have the same things that they do day in, day out. So it's not rocket science there. There's no magic formula. They just do consistently the same things every single day, and they show up in the same way all the time and consistently as well. So I think you have to know what's out there, like you say, affirmations and things. And I guess affirmations has been something I've looked at, but it's never been, I've always preferred doing a gratitude diary. That's completely changed my world, doing gratitude more in just a way of thinking naturally as well. But I think you just have to then, when it comes to more the self-development side of things, you have to think, does this work for me? Because essentially, like you say, there's no point saying to somebody, get up and write your goals down every single morning, or get up and go to the gym first thing and start your day like that, if that doesn't work for them and they're not, like you say, that's not me as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to, it's good to hear, well, as much of everything that's out there as you can, but you do need to kind of like take it in, think about it, and then use what actually works for you. Because like I could do the whole get up at 5 a.m, do like an hour's, I laughingly say do an hour's exercise, but I'd be a wreck. I'd be so grouchy. I wouldn't be able to concentrate on anything. And you really do just need to find what works for you. And even say with the early morning thing, if you're a night owl, then you're going to get loads more done in the evening, or whatever fits in around your family or your day job if you have one, or whoever you live with. So
and I guess this is a great question I've heard recently through listening to my own podcast and audibles which I listened to. And it was, a question was asked is, what has been the best decision you've made in the last 18 months? And I guess I'm putting you on the spot there, but what do you think would be one of the best decisions you've made around your business?
I think two things, but the second thing comes out of the first thing. So I think joining the focus group for the coaching, definitely, and deciding to invest, I think, in coaching, which is a lot of money when you don't have very much money, but it's totally worth it because it pushes you forwards and you get that back. It's not like, it's not a cost. I'm not like spending out on something that isn't worth anything. It's not like buying new shoes or anything. It's like a proper investment in your personal development and your business development. So definitely that's definitely pushed me forward. And the network of people that I've met through coaching has really helped me as well. And knowing that the women that I met within the group, we're all at different stages in our businesses. We all are doing different businesses and different industries, and we all end up having the same worries and fears. And that's really reassuring, which probably sounds a bit strange, but it's nice to know that you're not the only one having this crazy thought in your head. And it's nice that when you say something out loud, there's other people coming back to you saying, yeah, me too, I completely understand, you're not alone, or try this out, this worked for me, that kind of stuff. And then so that would definitely, hands down, getting the coaching has really helped me. And then my second decision, which came out of coaching actually, which I decided in January, was to only focus on one kind of art and actually do what I wanted to do, rather than trying to sort of jump up and grab at any little tidbit of work that came my way, which has been loads better for me actually. It sounds a bit scary to start with, to turn down work that's coming when you don't have a steady stream of work. But if it's the wrong kind of work or the wrong client, then it's just not worth it in the long run.
I think it's what you say is spot on. You have to be very, very patient. And if you believe in yourself and believe in what you want to do and your goals, then that's what gets your motivation to keep going, and then you get your discipline. But I think, like you've touched on, focusing on one thing, there is so much that goes on in our worlds that we're exposed to every, the amount of information our brains take in a minute is crazy. So focusing all the time on one thing can make a huge difference. And just then again, it's breaking it down in terms of what you really want. And that's what I love about coaching, is really looking at, yes, you've got great ideas and great visions, but just focus on a few things at the moment towards maybe a 2-week goal or a 4-week goal, and then let's build that, because in 4 weeks you're probably going to be there quicker than if you were to just think of 3 months and just have 20 things that you're spreading your time on and actually not moving forward in any of those areas. Because then, like we know, the psychological effect of then, I haven't had the best day because I didn't get that done, and I was focusing on that, and you don't feel productive, has more of an impact, I think, sometimes on us. So definitely one thing. I think interesting you say around sometimes having to say no to things.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really hard.
Yeah, it's kind of like boundaries work almost.
Yeah.
It's like having your set, or like a flexible idea, but a set idea of the kind of thing you want to do, what won't work for you.
Yeah.
And standing up for that, because I think as women particularly, I think we're so used to saying yes and trying to make things easier for other people.
Yeah.
And putting other people first, whether it like your children or your partner or people at work. I think that's just in our nature. I appreciate I'm being really general here. It's quite hard sometimes to just say no, even to friends and family that want to pop in and say hello for a cup of tea in the afternoon because I work from home. It's like, yeah, I work from home, but you wouldn't just pop into my office if I worked at an office.
Yeah.
Even small things like that are really important.
Yeah.
And it takes a while, I think, for other people to accept the boundaries that you've set up. So you kind of have to really stick by them.
Yeah.
Which can be difficult.
Sound advice. It's really good. So what's next for you then?
Oh, what's next? Well, in July, I launched my Patreon page, which is
It's amazing.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's like a little membership subscription kind of thing. So you get more access to me and my art and my process, and different people, different tiers of membership get different benefits, basically. So the more money you pay, the more access you get, and the more things you get back in the post, basically. It's all quite low cost, but so that's been huge for me. It's really nice to be able to try and start and build a community.
Yes.
And then moving forwards, I'm already looking at Q4, which is a bit of a throwback to corporate. Sorry about that. But you have to think about it that way, right?
Because you do, yeah.
Yeah, because Q4, for especially in the creative industry, it's Christmas and October and Halloween, and a lot of our money and income comes in that way. So as much as I would love to sit and doodle and draw whatever I feel like all day, I do have to plan. And if I don't plan now, I'll just end up completely overwhelmed at Christmas.
Yeah.
And like it just won't work, and there'll be no structure to what I'm doing, and I'll end up panicking. So for my own mental health and mental well-being, planning in advance really helps. Just to have a loose sort of framework of what I want to do.
Yeah, I was talking to someone this morning about that, and she's she's a coaching business, and she's just like, I'm just mapping out a launch in September.
Yeah.
Working out what August looks like, what September looks like. And I was like, wow, that sounds really, and then you're like excited to know more, or just by hearing things like that as well. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference as well, and helps us to then, I think like we then don't procrastinate the same when we manage things appropriately to where we want to be with them, don't we? Our goals and the vision. And yeah, I think that forward-facing part is really important. Where can people find you, lovely?
Okay, so my website is hannahkatemakes.com, and all of my links are on there, but I'm most active over on Instagram, and I am at hannah.kate.makes on Instagram. So.
Amazing. Look, I really appreciate your time, genuinely. You're an amazing lady and businesswoman, really inspiring, and always really positive. When if I need someone to G me up, I'm like, I'll have a little chat with Hannah. So thank you for that, as always, and I really appreciate your time, so thank you.
Bless you. Thank you so much for having me.
So a huge thank you to Hannah for joining me on my podcast, and a huge thank you to you for listening. So I highly recommend you check out some of my previous podcasts around optimism, positivity, loneliness, and loads more. So there is lots of links within the main description for you as well. So please connect me on all of my social media. I'm at Natalie Potts Coaching, apart from my Facebook community, which is A Living a Vibrant Life. And I love to hear from you. So drop me a question, share this with a friend if it's empowered you to. And whatever you do, make sure you have a great day and a great week.